Hi everyone, I'm your host Diva Danielle, and this is Community Link AZ. Thank you for joining the show. This is the internet show that's a resource for you to people, products, and services in your own backyard you might not even know of. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode. Each week, I'll introduce you to someone who is helping to make a positive difference in the community. We're going to have some fun, learn something new, and connect in a positive way. Let's start the show. Hi everyone, and welcome to Community Link AZ. I'm your host Diva Danielle. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. I do appreciate it. If it's your first time, welcome. You know what you got to do. You can't just watch. You got to hit the subscribe button so you'll keep up with all the good news and information I have with individuals in the community doing their part to make a difference in a positive way in someone else's life going forward. Today we have Juan Te Dailey. She's the CEO of D Squared Homes for Homeless. It's a nonprofit. And it's a heavy subject we're talking about, but she has a passion behind it, and we're going to find out why. And we're talking about mental illness. So Juan Te, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here. I'm very excited to share my story.
This is going to be interesting because when you think of mental health and mental health illnesses, people shy away from it. It's such a heavy thing. People are like, It's kind of like the homeless. People don't want to get involved.
Yes.
But it's individuals like you who have a personal connection that started this nonprofit, and you're not only helping yourself, you're helping others. So tell us a little bit about it.
So my son was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 2010. He was 20, and at the time the doctor said that he would never work again. If he did manage to, it wouldn't be more than 20 hours. We applied for disability and he was denied. So he can have a disability, but the state determines if you're going to get help or not. So my son, fast forward 3 years, actually began working full time. He went back to college, he had his own apartment, and he was a mental health counselor himself, so he was giving back. Worked 6 years, ended up lapsing into homelessness because of a toxic relationship. And then that's where the story starts. We applied for a temporary shelter for him, and he was denied because his income was $40 too short.
That is sad.
Yeah, so unemployment, just started receiving unemployment, and they said no, and then I said, okay, well, can I supplement that? And they said, well, no, because you're not the client.
Oh, but you're the mom trying to do the right thing. Oh, that's so discouraging.
It was discouraging, especially since he had been homeless previously just for 2 weeks. And I would, even though it was temporary shelter, I would have been paying for everything anyway because he had to really start over. So when he was turned down over $40, I just remember thinking the value of a human life.
Right.
You know, what happened to that? And I felt so helpless for the first time in my life. Defeated.
Yeah.
Better word.
Defeated.
Because I've always worked extra hard to get anything. I don't care how hard I had to work. So, but the one thing I remember thinking is, this is a private agency, and they really have the right to help whoever they want. They don't have to help my son. They don't even have to care. So I thought, well, you know what, let me start my own organization so I can really help who I want to help. Because there's a lot of people they don't fall within that little category where we receive grants, we help them. And my son having a diagnosis of schizophrenia, because he was able to work, they wouldn't get paid the access. So therefore, we don't really want to help him because, he's working and he's able to make it. Not in the hospital, so we're not getting that funding. Right, so I decided to start my nonprofit to help people like my son who have a diagnosis, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, PTSD, that lived on their own because I wanted to focus on prevention of homelessness. There's no one helping this particular base. And so that's why I started D Squared Homes for the Homeless.
D Squared Homes for the Homeless. Out of a personal experience involving her son, this passion follows, and now you're helping not only yourself and your son, but others. Well, tell us about some of the programs you offer through your organization.
So the program I'm really excited about is the volunteer program. So teens get together in the community. They reach out for donations, hygiene, socks, lotion, just everything that we can put in the homeless hygiene bag. We get together once a month. We fill bags in the park or various locations. And then we actually will pass out the bags in the park to the homeless that's living there.
Nice.
And then we will also distribute the bags to other nonprofits and organizations that have an outreach program.
That's perfect.
Okay, so that's the homeless hygiene bag. We also have backpacks that we pay for with sponsorships in the community. So their bags are $183 for 100 bags, and so the organization's logo goes on the bag with ours, and that's how we pay, because we are a nonprofit, so we need help with the funds. The second program that I have is we've started volunteering in the community.
Nice.
Prior to me starting my own nonprofit, I didn't serve. I was working for jobs, and I just realized it's really not just about me. It's about me giving back as well.
And it makes you feel so good.
It actually does.
Yeah, it does. It makes you feel so good.
It
I always
does.
tell people that. Get out of your own headspace, and if you can, go volunteer. It's a good thing.
It is, and it really does make a difference, especially now when a lot of people have lost things during COVID. But when I have that bag out, like whatever my personal issue is that day, and I hand out a bag out the window of my car to someone that has nothing, I'm really ashamed that I'm like, whatever my little tiny issue is, because it wasn't that big a deal. So we serve also monthly at Midwest Food Bank. So that is a community partner of ours, so I went to serve there. We get together on a Tuesday night from 6 to 8, and we help with whatever they need help with. This week we helped package Fruit Loops, but they weren't the Fruit Loops that the size, when I was small, they were little tiny things. These were like super sized Fruit Loops. And I was just like, wow, these are big.
Yeah.
And so we were there for 2 hours. The music is awesome. I'm like, how is this Midwest Food Bank? And they're like really jamming in here.
They want to have a fun atmosphere because
is.
It's a community involvement. It's their way of saying, if you're going to be here to help us, let's make it a joyous time.
Yes, and it really is. And it's like, it's just it's 2 hours.
Yeah, and it goes by so fast.
Yep. So the next thing that we do is, so my GAP program is the program that a mental health consultant on my board wrote. And so what we do is we help people like my son who has a SMI diagnosis, depression, anxiety, PTSD, where they have that temporary setback and they're living on their own. So they're all working in the community, because it's a stigma thinking that people with any type of mental illness diagnosis cannot work, because they absolutely can.
Yeah, your son is living proof of that.
Yes, he is, which is why I started the nonprofit. So when they have that temporary setback, like my son, I actually help them with the funds that's not covered by grant. So I want to help them pay that rent, so that way they don't lapse into homeless. So there's no organization that's really focused on the mental health of our society. And so how I pay for this program is I have several supporters that committed to a recurring draft of like $10, $20 per month, and they sign up, and then when case managers reach out to me and they say, okay, I have this person, the move-in cost and the first month's rent is not covered, and so I will actually help with that.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting to be able to do that. This year is the first year I was able to help, so we've helped several. Last week we actually helped a woman who was a veteran, and so am I. She had been sleeping in her car, and she needed to, she had a job interview. And so when we give out our bags, I call them dignity bags, because we're really giving out dignity. So we paid for her to stay overnight in the days in, so she could take a shower.
Yeah, and get a good night's sleep, so she can show up refreshed and ready to go.
Yes.
I love that. See, this is why I do the show. You get to meet such interesting people. We want people to support you going forward. So tell us about, where they can go to follow you on social media, what your website is, so they can check you out and get to know you a little bit more.
Okay, so my website is d2forhomeless.org, and it's the number 4, so d2, 4, homeless.org. Instagram, we are d2, the number 4, homeless. Also the same on Twitter. One of the things I want to make sure I mention is that we need help in our organization, because we are really growing. So I'm also looking for a social media person, a fundraising person, and a a to help us toward the mission. So
yeah, so if you're looking for a job, this is the place to be. d2forhomeless.org. That's where you need to go if you know something about social media, if you're good with fundraising, or if you just want to be a nice little secretary and help her out. This would be fantastic.
Exactly.
So I like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're looking. I'm really changing my family tree this is not just a nonprofit to me.
Right.
Because mental illness runs in my family. This is bringing awareness, especially to the teen program, like I mentioned,
Right.
because we're not talking about mental illness, and that's a problem when we're not talking about it. When my son started hearing voices, because I didn't know it ran in my family,
Right.
I had no idea, and so he didn't tell me. And then probably maybe like a year later, he said, I think I'm hearing things I'm not supposed to hear. But if I had known and had been educated by my family, I would have known that, okay, this is a problem I need to, prepare for. So awareness is important. So give back with us and, help us serve and change the stigma with mental illness and homelessness.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on the show, and thanks
you
for
for
sharing
having
that
me.
information with us. I appreciate you watching the show. Again, this is Community Link AZ. I'm your host, Diva Danielle. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next week.